You've probably used this product. Maybe yesterday, maybe this morning. If you ever typed, what are the odds Bitcoin hits 200,000? Or pulled up the probability on the next Fed decision? Or checked what the market thinks about the next regulatory ruling? There's a very good chance you ended up on Polymarket. And when you got there, you assumed something. You assumed you were looking at the wisdom of the crowd, a clean signal, the market speaking truth. You were not, because Polymarket didn't start in 2020. Its intellectual foundation runs directly through a Pentagon program from 2003 that was so radioactive, so fundamentally offensive to members of Congress, on both sides of the aisle, mind you, that the United States Senate moved to kill it within days of learning it even existed. That program was called the Policy Analysis Market, PAM, but many people know it by a totally different name, the Terrorism Futures Market. Yeah, that was an actual thing, and it's getting a reboot. Today is an investigative episode, sourced, documented, based on one of the most important pieces of research journalism published in the Bitcoin and crypto space this year. A deep dive by Whitney, Webb, and Mark Goodwin at Unlimited Hangout. The full article linked in the description. Read it, share it, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand three things. One, what DARPA's Policy Analysis Market actually was, how it was killed, and why the man who built it has never stopped working toward the same destination. 2. How Shane Copeland, by his own admission, is following in the footsteps of the big tech billionaires he idolized as a teenager. Oh, and he appears to have resurrected that Pentagon program with crypto rails and Silicon Valley money, and they're calling it innovation. Well, that's how they're pitching it. And 3. Why every Bitcoiner who has ever looked at a Polymarket odds chart needs to understand what they're actually looking at. Welcome back, I'm Rustin. We got a lot to get to. All right, let's begin. July 2003, Washington, D.C. Oh, and don't forget to click subscribe. It helps us out a lot, and it helps you stay up to date with the peaceful revolution. But 2 United States Senators, Democrat Byron Dorgan of North Dakota and Ron Wyden of Oregon, call an emergency press conference. They have just discovered what the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, has been quietly building inside a division called FutureMap. Futures markets applied to prediction. And what FutureMap contained was a sub-program, the Policy Analysis Market, PAM. Here's what PAM was designed to do. Let traders bet on the future, not on stocks, not on commodities, on geopolitical events, specifically political assassinations, military coups, the overthrow of foreign governments, terrorist attacks in the Middle East. The theory, and look, I'll be honest with you, there is a real intellectual theory here, is that markets aggregate information better than intelligence agencies. If someone with inside knowledge bets on an attack, the price moves, you see the signal, you prevent it. That's the theory. Senator Dorgan's description at the press conference was slightly different. He called it, and this is a direct quote, a federal betting parlor on atrocities. Senator Wyden added that it created, quote, an incentive actually to commit acts of terrorism. And again, this is in the wake of the Patriot Act and 9/11. Oh, man. Anyway, continuing. Within days of that press conference, PAM was dead. Congress killed it, bipartisan, immediate, radioactive. And the man who ran the DARPA office responsible, John Poindexter, was gone from the Pentagon within a month. Now, John Poindexter, 10 seconds, because his presence in this story is not incidental. John Poindexter was Ronald Reagan's national security advisor. He was convicted on 5 felony counts during the Iran-Contra affair, lying to Congress, obstruction of justice, and 2 counts of destroying evidence. His convictions were later overturned on a technicality involving how his immunized congressional testimony had been used at a trial. And then the George W. Bush administration made him the head of DARPA's Information Awareness Office. In 2002, FutureMap and its PAM subprogram were formally placed under Poindexter's IAO. The intellectual architect of PAM wasn't Poindexter. He was the administrator. The actual builder of PAM's theoretical framework is an economist named Robin Hanson. And this is where the thread gets interesting. Robin Hanson's career did not begin in academia. It began at Lockheed, the defense contractor. Then he moved to a company called Sterling Software, where he worked on a NASA contract. Now, Sterling Software. I need to stop here a moment because this detail is in the investigative reporting and it matters. Sterling Software was owned and run by two Dallas-based billionaires, Sam Wiley and Charles Wiley. The Wiley brothers were among George W. Bush's largest political donors, from his gubernatorial campaigns through his presidential runs. And here's the buried detail. Robin Hanson does not publicly list Sterling Software on his own CV. But his publications from that period, academic papers, reveal his employment status as a Sterling contractor while he worked at NASA. The man who built the theoretical framework for betting on terrorist attacks has an employment history running from a defense contractor through a Bush-connected private company operating under NASA cover and into DARPA's most controversial program. And when Congress killed PAM in 2003, again, in the wake of 9/11, Robin Hanson went back to George Mason University, kept publishing, kept working, never stopped. Okay, here's the move. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. When a Pentagon program is too toxic to run publicly, when the optics blow up, when the Congress kills it, the idea doesn't die. It gets privatized, it gets rebranded, it reemerges with a Silicon Valley face or pointy head. Let me walk you through this. 3 moves. 3. Move 1, LifeLog, DARPA program. The goal, create a total digital record of every person's life, every interaction, every purchase, every relationship, every thought committed to text, a complete surveillance profile of an individual life. The Pentagon canceled LifeLog on February 4th, 2004. Facebook launched on February 4th, 2004. Same day, probably nothing. Now, Copeland, by his own account, in his own public interviews, has described idolizing Mark Zuckerberg since he was a teenager. The Unlimited Hangout piece specifically frames Copeland as admittedly following the model of the big tech billionaires he had admired as a kid, particularly those who created their flagship companies by rebranding and privatizing controversial military programs from the George W. Bush era. Move 2. Total Information Awareness, also run out of DARPA's Information Awareness Office, also under Poindexter. TIA was a mass surveillance dragnet. Monitor all financial transactions, all communications, all travel records, predict threats before they materialize. Congress defunded it in 2003, same year as PAM. Peter Thiel built Palantir. Palantir does everything TIA was designed to do, selling total surveillance infrastructure to governments, police departments, and intelligence agencies worldwide. It is now a publicly traded company worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Do you see a pattern? Move 3. PAM killed 2003. Enter Augur. Augur was a blockchain-based prediction market, one of the first serious attempts to move PAM's concept onto crypto rails. And here's a detail that should make you stop. According to the Webb Goodwin reporting, the Augur team brought Robin Hanson, the architect of DARPA's PAM, on as an advisor. The man who designed the terrorism futures market was advising the first major attempt to rebuild it on the blockchain. Augur never scaled, but it proved the architecture could possibly work. Then came Copeland. Copeland has publicly confirmed his interest in prediction markets came directly from reading Robin Hanson's academic papers. Multiple mainstream profiles document this, and according to Webb and Goodwin, Copeland's efforts to build Polymarket included direct communication with one of PAM's main architects. And who backed him? Andreessen Horowitz, a venture network with documented ties to the same Teal orbit that privatized the last 2 programs on that list. This is not a coincidence. This is a franchise model. Same menu, new storefront, every single time. Let's talk about what this looks like right now, today, because this is where the theory becomes infrastructure. Copeland and his alleged chief competitor, Tarek Mansour of Kalshi, recently buried the hatchet. They created a joint venture capital firm together. They named it 5cc Capital. That name is a direct reference to the section of the Commodity Exchange Act used to regulate prediction markets. That is not subtle. This is brazen. And who backed 5cc Capital? The same Andreessen Horowitz that is also heavily invested in Kalshi directly. Now, the regulator, because this is part of the story that should genuinely bother you, the CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, oversees prediction markets in the US. Their current chair is Michael Selig. Before getting that job, Selig was a lawyer representing major cryptocurrency industry clients. But here's how Selig got the job. The Trump administration's original CFTC nomination was a man named Brian Quintens. That nomination was rescinded. Before that nomination, Quintens sat on Kalshi's board, and he worked for the crypto venture team at Andreessen Horowitz. All right, so let's see if we got this right. The firm that backs both Kalshi and Polymarket's joint VC fund had its own guy in line to become the federal regulator of Kalshi and Polymarket. That nomination was pulled. The regulator who did get the job has since told the platforms, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, to police themselves. Self-report your own conflicts of interest. Great system, love it. And then there's Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. is a strategic advisor to Kalshi. He also advises Polymarket, and he is a major direct investor in Polymarket through his venture capital firm, 1789 Capital. His investment in a platform being used to trade on his own father's policy decisions has been, let's say, noted. The article states it plainly, sourcing to mainstream reporting, the evidence of insider trading on these platforms, particularly in cases where it's directly related to Trump's most consequential decisions, is, quote, now widely acknowledged by mainstream media, not alleged, widely acknowledged. And then there's the media layer, the final piece. Polymarket has signed data and content partnerships with the Wall Street Journal, Dow Jones, Yahoo Finance, Substack, and a live streaming platform called Party. These partnerships have been framed as legitimizing prediction markets. The concern raised in the reporting is different, that these partnerships could be used to intentionally manipulate the very markets they appear to report on through the placement of false or misleading stories. Here's the thing about Polymarket. Its entire claim to legitimacy rests on one assumption, that the odds you see represent the neutral wisdom of the crowd. Many traders clean signal. But if the traders include people with advanced knowledge of government decisions documented and the media pipelines that broadcast those odds as neutral signals are in a commercial relationship with the platform itself, you don't have a wisdom of the crowd machine. You have a consensus manufacturing machine. Manufacturing consensus without consent. Maybe that's what Chomsky always meant. I don't know. Here's what I need you to carry out of this video. This is a Bitcoin channel, and you might be wondering, Rustin, this is a prediction market story. What are we doing here? Here's why. Polymarket doesn't just run markets on elections and geopolitics. It runs markets on Bitcoin. What are the odds the SEC approves the next spot Bitcoin product? What are the odds Bitcoin reaches $200,000 this cycle? What are the odds the next major regulatory ruling breaks in Bitcoin's favor? Billions of dollars of institutional capital and millions of individual Bitcoiners treat those odds as a signal. They feed them into risk models, position sizing, buy and sell decisions. And the network we just mapped, Andreessen Horowitz, the Teal Orbit, Trump Jr. advisory chain, has massive documented positions across Bitcoin and crypto assets broadly. Let me walk you off the ledge there, because this is not a reason to panic. Bitcoin's fundamentals don't change. 21 million is 21 million. The halving schedule doesn't flex or move around for Mark Andreessen. But what it means practically for every single one of us is that a Polymarket probability on a Bitcoin outcome is not a neutral signal. It is a signal produced by people who have a financial interest in what you do with that signal. Verify everything, trust the math, not the chart. Speaking of not trusting the platform with your assets, we just spent 15 minutes establishing what happens when platforms tell you, oh, we're decentralized, we're neutral, and we're the wisdom of the crowd. The lesson for Bitcoin holders is the same lesson. It's always been not your keys, not your Bitcoin. That's why we trust our friends over at the Bitcoin way. Actually, setting up self-custody the right way can be intimidating. The Bitcoin way gives you one-on-one help with self-custody, running your own node, improving your privacy, locking down your cybersecurity, and even building a Plan B residency abroad. No generic course, no guessing, real humans helping you become more sovereign. Book a free consultation today by scanning the QR or clicking the link in the show notes and secure your generational wealth the Bitcoin way. Now, holding your keys is the goal, but sometimes life happens. With Ledn, you can use your Bitcoin as collateral for a loan with no credit checks, no monthly payments, and funds can arrive in as little as 6 hours. So, instead of selling the hardest money on earth, you can unlock liquidity while keeping your Bitcoin. And you can learn more today. Scan the QR, click the link in the description, and head over to ledn.io today. So here's the frame. Tight and clean. In 2003, the Pentagon built a market for betting on terrorist attacks, basically. Congress called it the terrorism futures market and killed it within days. The man who built its theoretical framework, Robin Hanson, went back to academia at George Mason University, kept publishing, kept working, never stopped. 2 decades later, Shane Copeland, who, by his own admission, modeled on the big tech billionaires who privatized every prior Pentagon program, launched Polymarket, on-chain, clean UI, backed by the same teal-linked venture network that built Facebook. From LifeLog and Palantir from Total Information Awareness, with, according to the reporting, direct communication back to one of PAM's original architects, and with Rob Hanson, PAM's intellectual father, having already been brought in as an advisor to Polymarket's blockchain predecessor. The platform is now the dominant prediction market in the world. It has White House-adjacent investors trading on government decisions before they're public. It has financial press as distribution partners with a potential conflict of interest baked right in. Its federal regulator told it to police itself. They didn't ban Bitcoin. They didn't regulate crypto into oblivion. They didn't need to. They bought the weather station and now they tell us what the weather is. Stack sets, hold your keys, read the primary sources. The full article is in the description below. Give Whitney, Webb, and Mark Goodwin a follow. And your attention. That piece, another exceptional work. All their stuff is pretty epic. I'm looking forward to part 2 because it looks like part 2 is where the end game comes into full view. The idea Hanson has been advancing for 30 years. Where prediction markets don't just tell you what might happen, they decide what does. They're not building a prediction market. They're building a replacement for your vote. This type of machine, I shit you not, is described in this pamphlet from like the 50s or 60s. Silent weapons for quiet wars. And that war is against you. Let me ask you something. When you set up your Bitcoin wallet, did you actually plan for real life? Because phones get lost. People forget things, stuff breaks, and eventually, whether you like thinking about it or not, your Bitcoin may need to be passed on to someone else. That's exactly why BitKey makes so much sense. It's like the idiot-proof hardware wallet. BitKey is a self-custody Bitcoin wallet designed around the fact that life happens. There's no seed phrase sitting on a piece of paper that can disappear forever, and there's no single point of failure where one mistake means your Bitcoin is just gone. The new BitKey device even has a touchscreen, so when you're approving something important, you can actually verify what's happening before you approve it. Transactions, recoveries, address changes. You can see it yourself instead of blindly trusting that everything is okay. Recovery and inheritance are built in. Lose your phone, you have a recovery path. Want to make sure your family can access your Bitcoin someday? You can set that up too. No extra subscription, no separate inheritance service, no insanely complicated process that requires a computer science degree and a treasure map. It's just a much more practical way to hold Bitcoin for the long term. Get your BitKey today and use promo code SUNDIT to get 10% off. That's it. Get your big key. Do it. Do it today. Stay humble, stack sats. Don't sell your Bitcoin. Smash that like, hit subscribe, give us a pamp, and let us know what you think down below. I'll catch you all on Wednesday. Love you guys. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.